This episode is brought to you by IBM Watson Commerce. Omnichannel shoppers shop more often and spend over 3 times as much more than single-channel shoppers. Yet for retailers, delivering on the omnichannel promise is complex and expensive. Learn how IBM Watson Commerce uses cognitive learning to perfect sourcing decisions and drive down costs. And now, on to the show.
Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hello, and welcome to episode 92 of Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, Executive Editor of Total Retail. Today I'm joined by Bridget Russo, Chief Marketing Officer at Shinola, a Detroit-based manufacturer and retailer of luxury watches, bicycles, leather goods, and other items. We're going to be talking about Shinola's latest advertising campaign, Let's Roll Up Our Sleeves. Thanks for joining me today, Bridget.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start right there with telling our audience a little bit about this advertising campaign, which you've named Let's Roll Up Our Sleeves.
So the campaign was really born out of our mission, which from day one has been to create jobs in Detroit. We started in Detroit and we continue to look at opportunities. In fact, we're looking into Chicago as a potential place to manufacture eyewear. So as we thought about this year and really looking at the consumer and the environment that we're in, you know, it's a moment where people are certainly asking a lot of questions about their brands and the brands that they're buying, but also, you know, things may be a bit divided, and we wanted to have a unifying message, a message that everyone could get behind, not just in the US, but really globally. And so this idea of rolling up your sleeves and getting it done is certainly our approach. It really is an underlying spirit of Detroit, and it's why we came here in the first place. And I think it's an American spirit, the idea of if you want to get something done, go out there and do it. So we landed on Let's Roll Up Our Sleeves.
So let's talk a little bit about, and you kind of addressed this in your answer to that first question, but the message that Shinola is trying to convey to consumers with this campaign. And then sort of a secondary question is, how does that message align with the brand's values?
Again, I mean, this really, the whole idea of this campaign is born out of the spirit and the mission of creating jobs, and that will continue to be a focus for the brand. You know, when we first had the idea of building a watch factory in Detroit, everyone said, not everyone, Detroiters were very supportive, but, you know, some people thought, you're crazy, why would you do that? And then, you know, we came with the support of the community and, you know, hired local Detroiters and trained them, you know, all of which never had worked on a watch before, some of which had worked in automotive, and really were 100% convinced that this was the right place to be. Since then, we've created about 200 manufacturing jobs and over 600 jobs overall. So it's something we're really proud of, but ultimately it's an inspiration that comes from the heart of where we are, which is Detroit. And I think that spirit is something that is indicative of an American spirit and something that everyone can get behind.
And just so for the audience's context, so Shinola manufactures all of its products, and then that's correct? So
we assemble our watches, bicycles, and cut and sew some of our leather goods right here in Detroit. So some of the components, depending on the category, come from overseas, and then it's assembled here. We also work with factories on our other products, partner factories. So for instance, with the leather factory here, we manufacture the majority of our leather watch straps, and we've also started to do some of our small leather goods, in fact, even one of our handbags. We also launched audio at the end of last year, starting with a turntable, which is also assembled right here in Detroit.
You're selling those products brick and mortar and online directly through the website?
Correct. So we have 21 stores where we sell our products, our own stores. We also are sold at stores like Nordstrom and Neiman's and Saks, and then specialty retailers by category, audio, bikes, etc.
So getting back to the Let's Roll Up Our Sleeves campaign, can you talk about the different mediums that Shinola is using to distribute the campaign, print, digital, television, some of the different ways that you're broadcasting this latest message?
So we're focusing on national print with a handful of key partners, as well as out of home in our 6 key markets, that being New York, Detroit, DC, Chicago, San Francisco, and LA.
And then what are the goals that you've identified and the business benefits that Shinola hopes to realize as a result of this Let's Roll Up Your Sleeves, or Our Sleeves campaign?
I think for us from the very beginning, people were connected to this brand not because it's just beautiful products, which, if we didn't have beautiful quality products, this would all sort of be lost. But the fact that there's a story behind it, the fact that by buying this product, there's a positive impact in a community like Detroit. So that's what I think we're always looking to do with our campaigns, is how do we make that connection with our products. These are products with purpose, and I think the consumer is asking for it. They're asking all the questions of, where are my products made? What's the story behind the product? And so this is really a response to that, and something that people can feel good about and talk about.
Do you get a lot of feedback from your customers that a lot of times the reason they're purchasing from Shinola is because it is an American-made product and supporting American jobs? What kind of feedback are you getting from your customers?
I think first and foremost, people love the product, and what's great about it is stylistically, it really appeals to a wide breadth of individuals. It's pretty classic. It's not the kind of design that a year from now, you wouldn't put it on because it would just feel out of place. So it really is playing off of that classic American design with a modern feel to it. And certainly, I think when our customers are looking at whether to buy this watch versus another watch, that story certainly matters. And anecdotally, I've met people on an airplane who are wearing a Shinola watch, and I say, "Oh, nice watch," and they launch right into the story. And that's something that really, is special for me, certainly working on the brand side, to be able to hear that consumer story told back to me. So I think it's important. There may be some people who just buy it because they think it's a great product, but I think, the story definitely is important for certain folks.
Do you have a core target demographic, or is your customer base pretty diverse, age, gender? What about that customer?
Generally speaking, our customer is above 35 years old. It's split roughly 60% male, female. And, we're just scratching the surface. There's still a whole world of people out there who don't even know that Shinola exists. And so, we're growing and continuing to grow that fan base because we are limited. We don't have the marketing dollars, for instance, of other watch players in the category. And so we really need people to be our ambassadors and to get that message out there in addition to these efforts.
That's a good segue into my next question. With that limited marketing budget and limited dollars that you mentioned, this Let's Roll Up Our Sleeves campaign, what are some of the ways that you're going to be tracking the success? What are the metrics you're looking at to determine whether or not this was a successful campaign?
I think it's a combination of metrics. Certainly sentiment. So far, it's been very positively received by the consumer, which is great. And again, we've only just launched it, so this will be an ongoing campaign that will take us through the end of the year. Sales, of course, email capture. Are we growing and reaching new audiences? So all of those things will factor in foot traffic into our stores, and of course conversion. So all of those things play a part, and we continue to look to grow our female audience. So we think this message as well is relevant for a female consumer.
And then my final question, Bridget, is having just gone through this firsthand with the launch of the Let's Roll Up Our Sleeves campaign, what advice would you have for other retailers that might be launching a new advertising campaign?
I think ultimately, it's a touchy climate right now. And I think ultimately you have to be true to the brand. You have to remain authentic, and make sure that you're not jumping on a bandwagon just because that's the, of the moment cause or latest headline. You really have to remain authentic to the brand and to your promise that you made to the consumer. and stay relevant and hopefully reach the consumer, because now there's so many messages and so many ways to get the messages out there that it's challenging unless you have a ton of money to spend. I think every retailer, every brand will tell you that's the biggest challenge, is cutting through.
And maybe some context with a national campaign like this. I'd be interested to know, how long was this process to get this campaign launched? When did you guys start working on this?
Gosh, I feel like it was probably a year in the making after we launched our jobs campaign last year, of just, really hitting the nail on what the message is, making sure that the message was inclusive, and that it was, unifying and not taking sides. We're just not that kind of brand. We're a democratic brand, and we want people to feel welcome no matter what, side of the fence you're on. It's really about a message of innovation, ingenuity, and really American ideals of, getting things done. And if you have an idea or you're passionate about something, go out there and do it. And don't take no for an answer, because if we took no for an answer, we wouldn't be here in Detroit, and we wouldn't have opened a watch factory in Detroit. So
yeah, that's really kind of a message that all consumers can get behind, and something that is going on now at Shinola. So I want to take this opportunity to thank Bridget Russo of Shinola for joining me today. Please check out our podcast channel page, mytotalretail.com/podcast, for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. But make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. Lastly, please follow us on Twitter at MyTotalRetail or on Facebook at facebook.com/MyTotalRetail. Thanks, and I look forward to you joining us on the next episode of Total Retail Talks.
This episode was brought to you by IBM Watson Commerce. The new era of commerce begins now. With IBM Watson Commerce, use previously untapped data to create personalized and differentiating brand experiences that customers want. Learn more at www.ibm.com/Watson/commerce.